Welcome to Elevate the Game, where DFW's top leaders drop gems on success, strategy, and legacy with your hosts George Abreu and Eric Badiwala. Let's get into it.
Today, I'm joined by Makalea Bryant, an IT professional focused on innovation and artificial intelligence. She works with integrated DNA technologies while pursuing her master's in AI and machine learning, building solutions and training models to advance the field. Hi, Makalea. Thank you for joining us today. Um, if you can start off by giving us a quick snapshot of what it is you do right now and kind of what led you down that path.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here. So, I'm Makalea Bryant and I work in IT, but to be more specific, I work with Integrated DNA Technologies, which is a biotechnology industry and company. So, they deal a lot with Pfizer, Moderna, and other clients in regards to using gene editing to focus on medicines and trying to cure cancers. One of our most infamous recent accomplishments was with baby KJ. So that's what I do. However, I'm on the governing side, but I consider myself a jack of all trades. So a little bit about me. I've been in IT now for about 14, 15 years, so a very long time. And recently I decided to shift, if you will, to artificial intelligence. I made that decision, I want to say, about 2 to 3 years ago. I started working with Aligner in regards to training models and working on just how many turns it takes, basically training it to be more human-like, right? So a lot of what you're seeing within the marketplace today in regards to people interacting with models or interfacing with AI, that's a lot what Aligner does. However, where I got more interested in it is how dangerous this could be. And then also the ready to use model that a lot of companies are positioning with AI that isn't necessarily accurate. So I shifted to that model in regards to learning how AI works at a more in-depth level, the programming, the math, the science behind it, and then getting down to the bare bones minimum so I can help companies essentially make the right decision in regards to, is AI right for them? And then the question of the century is, should we make AI, build it ourselves, or should we buy it? And that is a lot of pitfalls I'm finding for a lot of companies.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, AI is changing a lot of things out there. Feels like daily. But
Yes,
going back a little bit, so how long have you been in the IT sector?
15 years.
15 years. So what really drove you to make that pivot and um, yeah, yeah, what really drove you to make that pivot?
I started out in IT because I wanted something that was dynamic, something that was ever changing. And I love a challenge. So IT was perfect for me. And then artificial intelligence came along and machine learning, which is two very different things. And that sparked a passion in me that I haven't had since my undergraduate years. And so I decided to make that pivot. One, because it's not only the future, but it's something that's constantly going to get better. It is constantly going to integrate with companies and is constantly going to be changing the way we as humans interact and deal with each other. Even now, you're seeing different countries pivot and change their regulatory models to accommodate for AI because it is that intrusive and impacting to the marketplace.
So are you going to try to implement the AI to cure cancer or what do you?
It's I love IDT because one of my passions is I want to get back. I am very much a servant leader, so it really aligned with my passion. But artificial intelligence and things like gene editing, DNA specifically, that can be a really slippery slope because you have to think about it. Artificial intelligence is basically self-enriching to some point, right? It can, especially if you have open source, it can basically enrich its own database. with information, and that's not something you want to do with human DNA, let alone genomes. So, to an extent, yes. However, do we want to run the full gambit? Probably not. I'm probably sure you wouldn't want your DNA information mixed with someone else's, or trying to have AI say, hey, here's a genetic sequence maybe that you're looking for that you can use for X, Y, and Z, because Jorge fits the best demographics of this. You don't want that. So to some extent, there is some privacy that has to be instilled with AI and some boundaries, and a lot of companies are learning that. So I would say for companies that are more public in regards to, they're not high stakes. And the European Union does a great job at defining what a high stakes organization is. If you're dealing with any kind of personable, identifiable information, you probably want to limit AI. Probably tag some components in your code that says, hey, don't scan this, don't read this, don't store this. And a lot of companies are learning that today, very much so. However, if you're like a company like GameStop, they just want to run analytics all day and figure out what is the newest, latest program you can use to gain more customers, then yeah, AI is for you.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that with when it comes to DNA and all that kind of stuff. It can definitely be a
Mm,
slippery slope. And I just learned about this open claw. I don't know if you've heard of that, where
yes.
yes, you've heard of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's crazy how it can do all these things for you and pretty much take over your computer, and
Mm,
crazy stuff
yeah.
happening for sure.
It's,
So in this, a lot of competition in this space for sure, especially
mm,
now as it continues to expand. What would you say is one thing that sets you apart from others, where you can stand out, in that competition?
yeah. So one thing that sets me apart is I am naturally curious. So I love to speak the language of the business, of the customer, of IT, and being able to, program and code myself. I can walk across all the organizations, all the departments, and get us speaking to one language. And that is, I find it my super skill because we tend to focus on one area, and we tend to focus on one sector, where as a company, you have to realize that all the inner working departments, all of the components of the company, they all drive towards one goal. And that is either revenue generation, acquiring more customers, or expanding business. And I would say that I have mastered the art of walking across all departments. So, in case of I can persuade my leadership and also my users and key customers on if it's beneficial for them, how we can use it, what regulations and governing controls do we need to install to make sure we're not um, overreaching our capabilities or what we should be able to do. And then also, what does that mean for our customers? What does that mean for our stakeholders? So being able to dot walk across that level of integration
Hmm.
is really essential, especially nowadays. And also, I'm not above rolling up my sleeves and getting in there and coding myself. I never want to be too big to where I can't get in there and learn something new and
Yeah.
help out and lean in, and then also give back that knowledge. So and that's also why I'm attending the University of Dallas in their artificial intelligence master's program. It's recognized by the Department of Defense. So that was really critical. And a lot of new things that they are finding out in the field, they're applying to the curriculum. And I'm going back and telling my team, hey, did you know this? Yeah, keep out for this. All right, I'll come back with more information. So it's really exciting, and I'm really passionate about it. I'm passionate about what I do.
Nice, nice. So if someone's listening right now and they're looking to get better at what they do, or maybe they found a new passion and they want to, go down that path, what would you suggest that they do? Like, what's one tip that you would give them? Um, yeah.
So one tip I would give, and one thing I had to really sit down is this a fad? Is this like a passing fancy? Or is this something long term? Is this something that's going to sustain me long term? And that's your first question you have to ask yourself. The next is, are you willing to put in the work to go back to school, to kind of tabula rasa everything and start over essentially? And are you willing to advance, improve? One thing that I have learned is that leadership is all about not only self fulfillment, but it's also realizing that you can always improve, you can always get better. And sometimes people are comfortable, and there's nothing wrong with that, being comfortable and just working a 9 to 5, but just being willing to put in the work. That's a question. It's going to, it's like, do you really want to go back to school? Do you really want to kind of go entry again and put in the groundwork? And if yes, then that's for you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So check in with yourself and make sure you're willing to put in the work it's going to take to do that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people see all the success of others, and with social media now, and they don't
Oh,
see
yeah,
the grind and everything it took for them to get there.
absolutely. I would say I'm up and I'm in the office at 7, and then I get off at 5, and then I'm like rushing, driving an hour to class, and then I'm in class until 10, get home
Wow.
at 11, do it all over again. And it's a grind, but I would tell you it is the most exhilarated I've been in a very, very long time. And
Nice.
learning about AI and implementing it is nothing but invaluable. It's something that is going to really revolutionize the way that we do business. I mean, it already is, and the way that we interact. Now, it's crossing some lines of ethics, yeah, some people, and there's nothing wrong with this. I'm going to phrase this. Everyone's entitled to what their happiness looks like. But one of my concerns in IT is ethics around technology and really setting up the end users for success. Using it to advance humanity, great. Using it to advance your customer base is great. But be real with end users about what it does. And that at the end of the day, the best way I can put AI, it is a talking database.
Hmm.
Someone is training it based off human emotions, feelings, things are really predictive, right? Humans, we are really predictive. We all feel sad, we all feel mad, we all feel angry, we all have the wife issues, husband issues, boyfriend, girlfriend issues. And it's trained like, okay, these are really repetitive things, these are common things. However, the point I want to make with that is that sometimes that can be dangerous. You have people getting married to artificial intelligence now, and
Wow.
yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, people getting married to it and devaluing the human interaction. And that is something I want to be on the forefront of with AI to kind of help guide it towards, let's not limit humanity. Let's not put ourselves in a disadvantage. Let's position it at AI and ourselves to be success, to progress us forward. Because that's ultimately what technology should do. And that's why I started over. That's why I got as involved with AI and really consulting companies on how to do it right. A lot of companies, like I just told you before, they like to plug and play, right? But one thing that's a strong component of like a first step is cleaning your data. It AI can either enhance something, it can enhance the good or it can enhance the bad. I recently did an article on LinkedIn just has a ye be warned kind of moment to caution these companies against it. And to walk them through it just to get some advice for free. Just, hey, these are your basics. If you don't have an AI expert telling you these are things you should know. Is your data clean? Don't just use it for one sector, use it for your whole company, right?
Hmm.
Don't just be stagnated in one area. Think about the full benefit and translate that value and what it means for your customers. And then should you use it? Not all companies, not all people should use AI.
Yeah, I guess it depends what you're using it for, right? And how you're using it. It's really powerful, good and bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep. So maybe can we go into what's one of the biggest challenges you've had over your career, and how did you overcome it?
Ooh, I did tell you I love a challenge, right?
Yep, you
So
did say that.
I have got myself some pickles before of working in every organization is different, but every organization wants to be cutting edge. And sometimes we're not set up to be cutting edge just yet. So it's having those difficult conversations with C-suite and the board of, hey, are we ready for this? And if we're not, how do we get there? And a lot of leadership, they want it now. We want to use it now. AI says it can enhance everything for us. It can give us, $1.2 billion in profits in our first quarters. Let's do it. And
Mhm.
sometimes you gotta slim down, like, hey, we are not there yet. We can create a lot of incidents with this tool if it's done wrong. So I would say that my biggest challenge has been framing the message of use for AI and then really road mapping the implementation of it within an organization. And also, and companies should know this, learn your marketplace, your regulatory requirements, your governing requirements for artificial intelligence. Cybersecurity framework has new controls around AI. The EU just rolled out DPIA requirements on artificial intelligence and then also GDPR requirements on artificial intelligence. They tell you, hey, if you're collecting human information, whether it's height, eye color, hair color, anything regarding human characteristics, you're considered
Mhm.
restricted and you have to abide by these set of regulatory requirements. And not a lot of companies are looking at it at that perspective.
Yeah.
It's not just the IT component, it's not just the data component, it's your customer bases and where you're doing business. All these have to be considered with AI. And that's something I have found to be a welcome challenge, discussing with leadership.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, it sounds like you've been pretty busy with your career and school now, right?
Yeah.
A lot of professionals are kind of at some point they start looking towards the future and how can they create more passive income and either supplement their current income or, think of, hey, when I'm not making this active income, what am I going to live off of? What are your thoughts about that? And have you made any of those investments that you can share with us?
So as of yet, I started dabbling a little bit in stocks, right? Artificial intelligence, machine learning has been one of them.
Hmm.
And essentially look at what drives the market today. And sadly, it's people are always going to be afraid of their mortality. They're always going to be afraid of getting sick. Um, I wouldn't say that's it's an ethical investment, but it is an investment. People are always going to need housing. And, you know, I don't know about where you live, but I live in Texas and they are always building. So investing in lumber. So investing is always a great option. Investing in IT now is nothing but smart, essentially. However, I would say look at the companies that you're investing in, and they've been trending over the last couple of quarters, and how is their year end, and then dive in. You never know. You could hit another Google before it becomes Google. You could hit another
Yeah.
Microsoft before it becomes Microsoft. IT is always a smart investment because it's continuously advancing humanity.
Yeah. I mean, last few years, it's definitely had a run in the stock market. But
Yeah.
so, yeah, housing, health, tech, and death. That's what I
Yes.
took from that.
It is because those are the constants that I feel that humanity is worried about, paying my mortgage and buying a new house and then life insurance and do like if I were to meet an untimely end, am I covered? Is my family covered? I have a bad genetic history, medicine. My family has a history of cancer. These are routine things that you find humanity is concerned about and are great investments.
Yeah.
Something like air pong, I wouldn't recommend investing in. Things are passing fad. Once again, I don't consider a wise investment.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. I mean, that's the main reason we do residential real estate is because someone's always going to need a roof over their head, right? And
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, obviously there's more aggressive investments that can be made as well. But
Yeah.
um, I like to stick with the ones that you're saying, right?
And there's always a degree of risk with everything, right?
Yep.
And that is something I do want to say this because there are some artificial intelligence tools that are saying, hey, we can invest for you. There's a degree of error. Be
Yep.
cautious. And I always tell people, even myself, if I'm building something, I always double, triple check it. I have a peer review of my own and have them come in and say, hey, is this right? So with AI, check it.
Yep.
It is it's like SQL a little bit. Love SQL, love it, love it, love it. But there's a program in SQL, a program enhancer, where sometimes it doesn't always choose the most efficient path. And a lot of programmers will understand what I'm talking about. Is that sometimes that path that it thought was efficient can cause a major incident, and you have to revert back to like, no, 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 no. I want you to stay here. Same
Yep.
concept with AI. It can choose a course that you do not want a major incident in your household, but can cause an incident. So check it, make sure it's right. Don't just blindly trust it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, even with the little things, right? Even using just Chat GPT, sometimes they'll spit out some things that, most of the time it's good and it's solid, but
Yeah,
you gotta check it. Yeah.
yeah, you absolutely have to check it. There are things called hyperboles and fallacies in AI, where, and this is the dangerous part, a lot of people don't know this, that if it doesn't have enough information to enrich itself, it will start to make up stuff.
Mm,
It could be out of the
okay.
blue. And so you have to account for that.
Yep. Yep. No, that makes sense. Okay, so as we're wrapping up the interview, I'd like to ask this question, but if you got any exciting plans or initiatives in the next 6 to 12 months?
I plan to do more speaking engagements, more keynote speaking engagements.
Nice.
Trying to get out there and submit myself as an expert in this field, and hopefully has set companies on the right path towards success and help guide them. So that is why I'm in the trenches. That is why I'm learning how to get into the bare bones minimum of PyTorch and TensorFlow and long language models and deep learning AI, just so I can speak confidently and also do the work too.
Nice.
So that is my objective, and I hope to share this knowledge in conferences and with other leaders and help position them for a bright 5, 10, 15, 20-year success model.
Nice, nice. Well, the best of luck with that. Thank you so much today for coming on here, sharing your insights. If someone wanted to reach out to you and connect, how's the best way they can do that?
So LinkedIn is the best way to do that. I always encourage LinkedIn, and I will respond to it. I'm not quite comfortable giving out my personal information
Yeah.
yet. If someone wanted to reach out, then we can connect from there.
Absolutely. We'll make sure to put your LinkedIn link in the notes. So thank you very much, Michaela.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
You
Thanks for listening to Elevate the Game. If you're a mover and shaker in DFW with game to share, apply to be a guest at elevatethegamepodcast.com/guest.